Hey there everybody, Alex here. If you are watching this video, it's because you've signed up to take our church's class, One Story, One God. As I think of starting class structures and equipping groups for our church, I think of just my own personal walk with God. I've learned a lot about God in the last 6 years. Not that I know everything or even close to everything, but as I've grown as a Christian, I've continued to learn things about who Jesus is. And I've started to see that every time I learn something more about who God is, I fall in deeper love with Him. And I think that's really true for all of us as we continue to dive in to explore and see who this amazing creator God is that saved and redeemed His people. So I'm excited for you personally as you dive into our One Story, One God class over the next 9 weeks. Now, I wanted to give you guys this video to give you guys some helpful tools, some tips, some things to just consider and think about as we look forward to the next 9 weeks and even prepare you, because we can't talk about everything in the announcements as we've talked about it. But I'm excited for you to take this personal journey, and I want to just give you some information on what the actual structure of the class will look like. All of us together will be walking through a book that's by an author named D.A. Carson. The book is called The God Who Is There. Don't worry if you're not a reader or if you don't enjoy reading. It's not super dense to the point to where it's going to be really difficult for you. There will be some challenges to reading it, but it's also at a level to where I think all of us could read it comfortably and walk away from several things from within the chapters. Now, you're not going to read the entire book, because if we did that, the class would be 15 weeks long or whatever it is, but you'll walk through the majority of it as we pursue this together. Along with reading each week, there's also going to be a study guide that I'm giving you. It'll be like a little notebook that I have available for you that will walk through each week, that you'll have essentially pre-work. You'll have your own quiet time to be able to think through, hey, I've read the chapter that's been given to me and through D.A. Carson's book, and then there'll also be some scripture that I'm going to challenge you to read too, because scripture is ultimately what we want to study and how we want to come to know God more. And so as you spend time reading the scripture and reading the textbook, you will continue to just be able to evaluate and think through some of the questions. Some of these questions are going to be fairly easy to walk through and will be helpful for you to just kind of plot out your answer. Some of the questions might be a little more challenging and cause some dissonance and some struggle, and you may not know how to answer the question. Guess what? That's okay. That's all part of the learning process as we walk through this together. A second part with the pre-work that you'll do every week, actually before you come to class, is I've placed some videos that might be helpful for you to just YouTube and watch. There's a company called The Bible Project. Maybe you've heard of them, but they make these sweet, short, about 8-minute videos that help you understand the story of Scripture and the greater themes of Scripture. And so I've tried to place these videos where they fit best with exactly what we're studying and learning that week. If you come to class Sunday night and it's week 3 and you maybe haven't had a chance to read the entire chapter of D.A. Carson's book, if you haven't been able to answer every single question through the study guide, if you haven't been able to watch every single video that I've given to you, don't feel guilty, don't feel bad. This class is asking a lot of you, but it's for you. So if you're sitting there and thinking, man, there's something I have to do, and that kind of scares you a little bit, I want it to actually comfort you, because you signed up to take this class because you want to know Jesus better. You want to know the story of Scripture more, to see God more. And I don't want to just stand up there and lecture for another 35 minutes and bore you to death for you to walk away and maybe take one thing. But I would love for you to actually do some of the work, some deep work with me as we take this class together, because this class is not just for your benefit, it's also for mine. One of my primary hopes and goal through just different equipping groups that we'll continue to have in the life of our church is that we'll start to see this potential barrier that might be there, where you might feel like an amateur and you might feel like whoever is speaking on Sunday morning or whoever is teaching at City Group or whatever it is feels like an expert. I want to completely tear down that wall, and I want all of us as God's people to continue to grow in deeper love with who Jesus is. And so I'm doing this with with you guys. I'm right there with you each week, reading the book, studying and taking notes with the study guide that I'm giving to you, and also watching the videos. So don't feel like this is me just kind of giving you stuff to do, but we're all in this together, hoping that Jesus would continue to shape our hearts to see him for who he is. Now, at the end of this class, it is my great hope that we will all walk away with having a better understanding of the timeline and the story of Scripture, that we will practically be able to share with friends, family, coworkers, whoever it is who asks questions about the Bible, that we're able to just better come alongside them and say, hey, actually the story of Scripture kind of lines up this way. And also that we're able to see Jesus is not just in the New Testament, but he's also all over the Old Testament. How does that work? How does Jesus actually fulfill Old Testament promises? All of that is a hope that we will continue to dive into for the next several weeks with the class. Be prepared for Sunday night, because Sunday night we're going to walk in on the 19th, and we're actually going to spend time in small groups before we spend time in more so of the lecture type of section. So the class will consistently involve 3 different parts. Each week you'll have some pre-work to do, the study guide and the reading and the videos. Then when we come to class on Sunday nights, you're going to have small group time. I'll divide you guys into groups when we get there, and we'll be able to just spend some time answering some questions and dialoguing with each other, because discipleship happens in relationships. Theology happens in actual conversations. And so if you've got questions about something you didn't understand, or if you felt like God really taught you something, those are moments for us to come together as brothers and sisters and share those with one another. Then after the small group time, there'll be a teaching time where someone will teach through the study guide to help give you some clarity, but also teach some extra things about the specific theme that we're tracing through the story of Scripture at that time. My prayer and my hope is that this challenge, this would stir up an affection for us for Jesus, that would just go, Lord, you've given us an amazing gift in your Scriptures, in your word, and it is the primary way that we continue to grow and know you. Lord, would this not be about how smart we are? Would it not be about having all the right answers? Would it not be about becoming prideful and arrogant and being puffed up in some way that we may seem like really smart people who know everything? But would we humbly before Jesus go before him and say, I don't know a whole lot, God, but I just want to learn more about you. That is my hope for us in this class, and that Christ would redeem that, answer that prayer, and he would make us and give us just a deeper affection for him, that our knowledge of God would lead to worship of God. If you have questions, feel free to reach out to me. My email, alex@citylightsouth.church. One final thing. If you got to the end of this, hopefully you did. Sunday at church, this Sunday, September 12th, I'm going to have your workbook and your book by D.A. Carson, The God Who Is There, to give to you, because come the first day of class, first night of class, the 19th, we're actually going to already be walking through week 1. So I need you guys to be prepared for class, and we need to continue to just dive in and take this challenge. If you have questions throughout this first week, because it's all new, feel free to ask. Don't feel weird about it. Let's dive in. Let's get excited to learn the story of Scripture and who God is. Love you guys. See ya.